Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Rodeo Time. You got Dale Brisby in the house, the world's greatest bull rider. Delicious orange cream, ranch fuel. What we have today, I'm going to explain to you 16 jobs in rodeo. If you are a fan of the sport, number one, you probably know who Dale Brisby is. And for the three of you that don't worry. Your mom does. Just ask her.
Quit! Just everything that you're doing.
I'm Dale Brisby. I can't quit.
And you're looking for a job. You'd like to get involved in that industry.
Let's do this. You guys are hired. You're in, unless you're like the weirdest guys ever and I don't see it.
I'm going to give you 16 opportunities to look out for. Number one is the most exciting, and that's what Dale Brisby is. I'm a rodeo cowboy. You're a participant in the actual rodeo. You can be a bull rider, saddle bronc, bareback, and none of the other events actually matter. No, I'm just kidding. You've also got barrel racing, team roping, breakaway, tie down, steer wrestling. There's also steer roping, but we'll get into that in another video. Regardless, you've got several events to choose from. If essentially you're an athlete, you get paid if you win. Now, what's the earning potential? In the bull riding, after the NFR, if you've won the average and won a few rounds and done good at a bunch of big rodeos throughout the year, you can make upwards of $300,000. Now, if you're just getting started, you can make as little as a few thousand.
I got you $1. Oh, you almost had it. You got to be quicker than that.
So if you're making a few thousand, you might need to have a second job to supplement that income. As you get better and you're able to win more, then you'll be able to make more. The guys that are making the $300,000, they're going to upwards of 100 performances a year. Now do the math. Last I checked, there's 52 weekends in a year. If you're going to 100 performances, that's a lot of rodeoing. But those are the guys that are going to win the most money. And those are the guys that are doing it for a living. You're focused on one thing, and that's to win at your craft. You can also have sponsors. If you're the guy that's making $300,000 by the end of the NFR, then you're probably also the guy that can make upwards of $100,000 or $150,000 in sponsorships. The earning potential there is exciting. As you drop down and you look at number 20 in the world or number 50, they can have sponsors too, but what it's going to take is are they able to bring that sponsor value? There's a lot of ways to make money. Number one is winning. Number two is sponsorships. Second job in rodeo, bullfighting. They can compete in, for instance, a freestyle bullfighting competition. The main way that bullfighters are getting paid is getting hired by the stock contractor or the rodeo committee. They get paid by the performance. You're going to go to fewer rodeos and you're going to be at those rodeos more nights. So you go to Killeen for 3 nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, with Sammy Andrews. I'm just guessing, let's say $300 a perf. So that weekend you're able to make $900 and go home. You may also have a few other responsibilities. Sammy's not going to work you into the ground. He's going to ask you to untie calves. He's going to ask you to run the neck rope on some bucking horses, help sort at the beginning, maybe help feed after the rodeo. Very simple stuff. Those are all things that you're going to be asked of as a bullfighter if you're hired by the stock contractor. If you're hired by the committee, typically, you are only there to fight bulls. It also pays a little better. Rodeos like Sykeston, Rodeo Houston, San Antonio, small outdoor rodeos like, for instance, Woodward, Oklahoma, might hire the bullfighters themselves, and that's going to be upwards of $800, $1,000, $1,200 per performance. And these are rodeos I'm talking about. The PBR is going to pay a little bit more. They might work fewer events, but they're going to get paid more per night. Do the math on that. If you were to pick up, let's say, a dozen rodeos as a young PRCA bullfighter, and they each have 2 performances, that's 24 performances. Let's say that's $300. That's going to be $7,500 a year that your 1099 says.
I declare bankruptcy!
Oh yeah, your 1099. Better bring your own insurance and have another job because $7,500 isn't going to pay all your bills in 2024. Job number 3 is the pickup man. 1099 gig. Typically, you're going to bring your own horses, bring your own truck, your own trailer. So you're going to have a few more expenses than that bullfighter. Now the job is less risky. You're atop a horse the whole time. You're not fighting a bull. So there's some benefits there. But typically those guys are also have a few more years left in them. Your bullfighters are maybe 22, 23 and younger, and your pickup men are usually 32, 33 and older. You've got a seasoned cowboy that can ride a horse, and handle bucking horses. Typically, in my opinion, the pickup men are going to be the handier cowboys that you'll see in the arena. Just watch. They've got to be able to rope. They've got to be able to handle their horse. And then they've got to be able to do things atop that horse next to a bucking horse that are just usually bar none in the arena. You may have some bronc riders or a team roper come in off of a big ranch that could outshine a pickup man, but all I'm trying to drive home the point is these guys are hands. At a small rodeo, 300 or 400 a night. Maybe at those big rodeos, Cheyenne and whatnot, maybe 1,000. That's a little bit of a guess. I haven't seen any of those guys 1099s at the end of the year, but that's just going to be a guess for me. Same thing at the NFR. You'd be surprised that it's not more at the NFR. I've heard some numbers. I don't want to say and go on record, but if you're going to take any of these 16 jobs that I'm going through, you need to get your mind wrapped around the fact that it's not necessarily something you're going to buy a private island at the end of your career with. Now, maybe a small ranch, if you're very frugal and do very well, then yes, that's 100% likely. And as a rodeo cowboy, that's probably what you'd like to have rather than an island. So it works out. Job number 4 is your rodeo announcer. Yeah, that's right. You got to have that voice that can go there. You got to have the gift of gab. Talk, talk, talk. Mention your sponsors. Do all the things. Rodeo announcers do also sometimes have sponsors like your rodeo cowboys and your bullfighters. Pickup men don't typically have a lot of sponsors, but maybe like a rope sponsor occasionally. They'll put cactus ropes on the breast collar. But your announcers, they may have a couple because they can slide it in there during a rodeo, if you know what I'm saying. I think an announcer is going to have 1,000 a perf. In my opinion, like the good ones, if they're going to work a 3-night, maybe something like Colleen. This is a total guess. I don't even know who announces there, but I think it's going to be probably around 1,000 a night. They make 2,500 to 3,000 on that weekend. Sometimes they have to also be their own sound engineer, which would be job number 5, because at the bigger rodeos, that's a separate person who can make money on their own if they just run the sound. Josh Hambone is a sound guy, and he will mix it up there. I'm not sure what they make, especially at those big rodeos. That's a very important job. Not as important as the announcer, but getting pretty close. I imagine they're going to be upwards of several $100 to $1,000 a perf. So if you like to mix it up and play DJ, then sound engineer at a rodeo could be something for you. Stock contractors. I don't know. They may have the thinnest margins. We've put on a few rodeos in high school, and that was one of those jobs that was just thankless, a lot of hours, and it just never seemed to be enough money. Now, my dad liked to really make sure that everybody got paid. Anybody that helped us that night, they got paid. He had been in each of those positions. Maybe you can cut some corners and pinch pennies, and I don't know. That's not a good enough excuse not to make money. But regardless, you could probably put on a rodeo for a smaller rodeo for like maybe $10,000. As a stock contractor, you pitch that to the committee, and then it's up to you to budget your money, and maybe you've got a little meat on the bone at the end of the rodeo. I think that there's some medium-sized rodeos that could be as much as $50,000. I don't know what those stock contractors make to run, for instance, Houston, Cheyenne, any of those bigger ones. I imagine it's going to be getting close to the 6 figures. I'm burning through this orange cream ranch fuel. It's my first one. That could be completely out of line. I'm not sure. There's not very many Cheyenne-sized rodeos, so I haven't heard. Jobs number 7, that stock contractor could subcontract a bull guy. And maybe you are interested in raising bucking bulls. This is maybe one of the most sought-after things that people approach me about outside of being a rodeo cowboy. Hey, I want to be a stock contractor. If you want to be a stock contractor or a bull guy, is get ready to spend some money unless you are already set up for it. If you've got a ranch already, a working ranch, and you've got ways to fit in, breeding some bucking bulls or bucking horses, then maybe it can be seamlessly added to what you're already doing, and you don't have to buy the land, buy the trucks and the tractors and everything you're going to need throughout the year to feed and make sure these animals are healthy. Set up an arena. If you're already set up for that, then you're probably not watching this video because you know all these jobs. If you're at the house and you just graduated high school or you're in college and you really want to be a stock contractor, the advice I would give you is to maybe go work for one and see all that it takes and see what goes into that. Now, it could lead you to be a great stock contractor. or it could lead you like, that's not exactly what I thought it was. And maybe you alter that plan and maybe become job number 7, which is just a bull guy. And you raise just the bulls. You don't mess with the team roping steers or the bucking horses or the calves. And then a stock contractor who does mess with all that, they don't necessarily want to raise bulls, so they'll hire Burgess bucking bulls, or they'll hire whoever, JB, to bring his 13, 15, 20 head that he's got at the house. And now they don't have to worry about having outstanding bucking bulls. They will subcontract JB. So bull guys, number 7. And the earning potential is about what you spend in it. Hopefully you can break even. Same thing with stock contractors. A lot of these guys, they went down this avenue because they were successful in another industry, and this is fun. It's a fun way to live life, and they also get it as a tax write-off. And if you're starting from scratch, you're going to lose money in the beginning, 100%. That's not me being negative. You can make money eventually if you're really good, but in the beginning, you will definitely lose money. Job number 8 is timed event guy. So I talked about a stock contractor subcontracting a bull guy. Well, sometimes they'll subcontract a timed event guy, and maybe you enjoy steer wrestling, but you don't necessarily want to go down the road all the time. Maybe you're a steer wrestler who has a great pen of steers, and then you will loan those out to certain stock contractors in the area. Because a steer wrestling steer, bulldog and steer, needs to have a certain size about him. You don't want them to be sour any certain way. You can't just throw any steer in there. Same thing in the calf roping. That would be job number 8. Job number 9, much less glamorous, and that is truck driver. Get your old CDL, Ol'Son. That may be the simplest job. It's just a lot of miles. There is something special about hauling bucking stock. Matter of fact, there's a stereotype called bull haulers. If you've been in the trucking industry, they sit really low, and if the window's right here, you'll see them really low, and usually they've got like a little bit of an ape hanger type shifter that's up high. For some guys, a very romantic job, and they take pride in it. You just got to get 8 hours of sleep, okay? And do not be tempted not to. Pull over. And when Jerry down the road says, hey, I've got this magic Jack and the Magic beanstalks, you can take these beans and stay up all night. Don't do it. Just drink a ranch fuel instead. Don't stay up all night. Truck driver, you can Google what they make. All right, and it's going to be about that. Maybe less in the rodeo industry. Now, that truck driver can sometimes have multiple jobs, and hopefully you would get rewarded for that. For instance, maybe you're working for a really small stock contractor. You're the truck driver, bullfighter, the pickup man. You also feed. You take care of the stock contractor's ranch back at the house. A lot of hard work. Maybe this is you're in the industry. And so if you get in with the right stock contractor that's going to reward that hard work, then it could be great. That's job number 9, truck driver. Job number 10, feed hand. These animals need to be fed every day, sometimes twice a day, depending on the outfit. If you're feeding total feeds, which hopefully you are, then your horses are going to enjoy 8 to 10 pounds per day. They won't need hay. Same thing with your bulls. They might need a few more than 8 or 10 pounds, the bulls. But regardless, hopefully you're feeding total feeds. Talk to Dr. Harry Anderson about that. The feed hand is going to get paid like a day wage. He's going to get paid like a hired hand would on any ranch. It's going to be minimal, maybe even by the hour. Hopefully $12 an hour. I would love to get paid $12 an hour working as a feed hand because you're going to have long hours. If you have an 80-hour work week, what is that, like $10,000 a week? No, I'm just kidding. Usually you're going to get paid by the week because that guy's going to know they're going to work all day. The feed hand may also run the de-rigging chute at a rodeo. That job sucks because you don't get to watch the rodeo. You do get to be around bucking horses and bucking bulls, but you got to be in the back alley. You can lean up and watch, but as soon as that animal's coming out of the arena, you got to get back to that de-rigging chute and strip off the saddle. And you need to know bucking stock. It won't be something you do day one if you're green. That guy will graduate up to popping latches. Now, popping a latch and pulling gates during the bull riding, during the bucking horse events, those are some more fun jobs, barring getting on them and picking up and fighting. It's a job right there in the mix of all the action that's fun to do. That same guy is going to help sort before the rodeo, and then again after the rodeo, you're going to feed that stock. These animals, when they're on the road and they're bucking, they're going to eat you're most often going to feed twice a day because they're active. You know, Boone sits at the house. He's kind of retired. We're going to feed him once a day. He's not working. Once they get to working, they got to get fed a lot. That was job number 10. Job number 11 is your rodeo secretary. Usually a sweet young lady who collects everyone's entry fees, and then she will also pay the winners.
Do y'all have a check for me?
Should we?
Yeah, from the bull riding. Should be for like a lot of money. Dale Brisby won the bull riding.
It is a very intricate job that not just anyone can do. You've got to be organized, you've got to know rodeo, and you've got to be fast. Everything needs to be set up beforehand. How many places does it pay? How much money is in the anyway, there's a lot that goes into being a rodeo secretary. It makes my head spin even thinking about it. These women are incredible at their jobs, mostly women. That's just the way it's always been. They're way more organized than men. I'm not going to argue that. That's job number 11. Job number 12, sometimes a rodeo secretary will have an additional timer to help her in the booth, in the crow's nest, if you will, during the rodeo. They're usually sitting right beside the rodeo announcer. What a rodeo secretary makes, I imagine it's a few to several hundred per performance. Maybe a few hundred is a better average when you think of amateur rodeos, small, indoor, outdoor. Thinking about Los Fresnos, Texas, way down there. It's a 2-3 night deal, and I could just see that paying a few $100s per performance, and then their room is going to be taken care of. So not enough money for how much work they put into it, but it's got to be somebody that loves the sport and wants to be there. Number 13, I put down promoter, and that's a unique job. I don't know that it's even called that. A lot of times in rodeo, there might be a people person involved, and they're going to hustle sponsorships. They're going to connect committees with stock contractors, and that's a unique position that if you know people and you're willing to talk and be a salesman for the committee or a salesman for the stock contractor, that there's going to be some opportunities there for you to maybe make a percentage on certain things. So that's just a job number 13 that you would have to help create. Number 14 is a driver for a rodeo cowboy. So we talked about a truck driver for the stock contractor, but I'm talking about a driver, for instance, Trevor Brazil. Now, he's a multi-event cowboy, and he's also 26-time world champ. He's going to go to a lot of rodeos throughout the year. It would be nice if he were able to get some rest on the road between performances, so he's going to hire a driver. And I'm not sure what that position pays. When I was a lot younger, I went with some guys to the NFR. I drove them around at the NFR, but that was 10 days. We were just hanging out in Vegas, and I did get to learn the layout of Las Vegas, and now I can make my way around it pretty easily. So that was a benefit. You get to see the country. You get to watch rodeos up close. You get to interact with world champs. Maybe Dale Brisby. Dale Brisby needs a driver. Actually, Dale Brisby has a driver. That's called an intern. Little side note, if you want to be an intern, that's a way to get a job at rodeoing. Text the word intern to 940-353-0890. And when I need an intern, I'll send out a text. Now, you got to be 21. I'll say, hey, I need an intern now. And I'll give instructions on sending a video to Rodeo Time Instagram and Dale Brisby Instagram. This year, we've taken on 3 already. It's March 4th or something. We've taken on 3 interns. Jay Stout, Nate Fraze, I think, Rowdy Shea now have an opportunity. They all 3 ride broncs. If you want to ride bulls, those are the 2 best events that we're suited to help you with. We could also help with bareback and bullfighting. We've already kind of got a pickup man. I don't want too many pickup men in there. So if you were wanting to ride bears, broncs, bulls, or fight bulls, then that would be a position for you. That would be an opportunity for you. So that's another job. All right, back to the list. Job number 15 is a judge. And this is not something that you're going to do green. It's not necessarily something you can do early. You would need to put in a lot of studying, research, be around the sport if you wanted to just go be a judge. Typically, a judge is someone who's been a rodeo cowboy their entire life. They've been a stock contractor. They've been a participant in and around rodeo. You've got to have an eye for it. So that's a job that I'm not even sure what they get paid, but that would be something that you would look into down the line. You see a lot of retired rodeo cowboys become judges. Number 16 is an arena crew. So with the PBR, for instance, they'll sometimes set up arenas in coliseums that don't normally have rodeos. So there's not just an arena in the Coliseum year round. Maybe they play basketball there, or maybe they, do other events in that Coliseum. So they'll hire people to set up arenas. They do that in Vegas every year, for instance. So that's another job in and around rodeo and livestock that could be considered manual labor. But there's a lot of jobs once you get in and around rodeo that if you just want to be a part of it, you've got stock contractors, you've got committees, and you've got people setting up arenas that are constantly looking for someone to help with a job, because it takes a young strapping man to pick up a bunch of panels and set them up. So it depends on how hungry you are to be in this industry. That's 16 jobs. I've got this last position is a volunteer, and that would be the rodeo committee. Rodeo committees, I think, are the backbone of rodeo in this country, because they're the ones that put in the work before the first performance starts. They're the ones that get the sponsors, they get the arena ready, they hire the stock contractor. Again, maybe they're going to hire your bullfighter. They're going to do all that kind of work. And it is always a committee. Very, very rarely do you see one person put on a rodeo and that rodeo be successful. Most often, it's at least a dozen passionate people that are behind the rodeo, and it will start months before, usually a year before. They're going to start getting ready for the rodeo, and they're doing all the little jobs that nobody wants to do, and it's volunteer work. So that is a great way for any of you to get started, and is volunteer on your rodeo committee and put in some time behind the scenes, and then that will hopefully afford you some experience at the rodeo. And from there, maybe you can meet the stock contractor, and there's no telling. But starting at the local communities is a great way to get involved with rodeo, just like it is politics. That's what everybody says. It starts in the family, at home, and then your community. Then you can change the world, Ol'Son. Hey, that's 16 jobs in rodeo from the world's greatest bull rider, Dale Brisby. You're welcome. And again, if you'd like to have a job with Dale Brisby, text the word intern to 940-353-0890. And hopefully, maybe our paths can cross and we can help each other. It's the same attitude you need to have with any one of these jobs. Find a way to help somebody, Ol'Son. Jobs in rodeo, I'm on to the next one. Pow, pow.